All right, going live in 3, 2, 1. Well, this is Soaking Up Spilled Ink with Rachel. We're up to episode number 8. How are you doing this evening, Rachel?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So you already have your what did you call that? I know it's not an avatar per se. What
That's
do you
kind of
have
a background.
background? There you go.
Yeah.
So of our show, we're going to review this evening.
hmm
So the I guess we can talk about when we get into the show itself. So,
hmm
but as far as anything going on in the world of Rachel that our viewers would like to know.
Um, I can't think of anything exciting other than the fact that it's absolutely freezing here.
Oh, yeah.
That's exciting if you don't live in a place where it's cold because it's freezing.
What kind of temperatures are you at right now? Are you like below freezing?
Let's yeah.
Below
Right
freezing.
now it's
Okay.
actually pretty warm. I'm at 27. It was
Oh,
18 earlier today.
oh wow. Wow.
hmm
So you really are really cold. Yeah, yesterday here it didn't get above 30. So, but
Yeah.
today it got up to 40s, up to mid upper 40s. So
Oh,
I
that's
was able to walk
nice.
outside. Yeah, I was able to
Yeah,
walk outside. Go
that's
ahead.
good. No, I was just gonna say this weekend we have lows of 4.
Okay. Yeah, that's not fun. Well, unless maybe you enjoy that stuff. For me, I'm not exactly sure if I would really enjoy
If
it.
it's snowy and pretty and I don't have to go anywhere, sure.
I spent back when I was like 19 years old, I spent like 3 weeks on my uncle's farm. I do remember on a regular basis. The It was the middle of January, and it would during the nighttime it would drop down close to zero almost every night, and the warmest it got was like 20 degrees. So, and the snow drifts were ridiculously high. I don't know why they got such high snow drifts. It was like snow all over the place. So, um, I actually I don't mind the snow. I like driving in the snow. It's actually kind of fun, but
Mhm.
it depends on what kind of car you're in as well. So, but I just remember they kept on saying it was just a common thing. This was in not too far from Altoona, Pennsylvania, about maybe 20 or
Mm,
30 miles north of Altoona, if you're familiar with that part of Pennsylvania. So,
mhm.
and it was out in the middle of nowhere, so there were no snow plows whatsoever. It's just you had to
Mhm.
drive through and get do your own thing. It wasn't it was definitely very rural, very farmland. So, but I liked it, but I don't know if I would. I mean, I liked it in the sense that it was fun for the drive through. I don't know if I'd want to like it on a regular basis, though. And of course, I was much younger, so the thrill of driving through the snow in a car was actually kind of fun for me. So,
Oh, that's there you go.
so let's take a look. I forgot to check make sure you can see this before we do this. Hopefully, you can see the screen here. Let's check our question from last week.
Not yet.
Oh, it's
There it
actually
goes.
about 3 weeks ago. So,
Yeah, it's been a little while.
so, how much do you decorate for the holidays?
Yes.
So, 48% with excessive Griswold level. The next one down would be 20% with normal, 18% with none at all, 10% with a little bit, and 4% below excessive and above normal.
That's
Okay.
interesting. I kind of thought a little bit would be higher up, but no, we got a whole scoop of Griswold level excessive, which I still like calling it Griswold level.
Yes. And I'm also it's interesting to see 18% with none at all. So considering that
hmm
from what I understand, the holidays are pretty much celebrated. There's like some sort of holiday celebrated at that time of year, pretty much anywhere
Yeah,
around the
because
world.
it's midwinter, solstice. Somebody celebrates something at some point.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Well,
Yeah.
let's take a look at the responses we got. Let's see. Mr. Phillips is amazingly excessive. Uh,
Something like that.
I can't read the first one, so I don't know what the language is. So,
No, yeah.
uh, Team Rogers says totally excessive indeed for the holidays, and I think we might have read these too. So, but
Yeah, I think we have, yeah.
yeah, so we're kind of rehashing these right here. But
hmm
I'm not an idiot who spent a considerable amount of time engaging in holiday memes. Is that me? Oh, means.
Means, yeah,
Yeah,
especially when I don't want to reflect on shit. Okay,
yeah.
well,
So,
that's up to you.
yeah. And it looks like we got
To each their
one.
own, I suppose.
Yeah. So, all righty. Anything else? How do you feel about that? Anything else you'd like to add to that? I know you already gave your opinion on that, but anything else you'd like to add before we move on from that?
I wish that it was like, someplace that people could post pictures because I would love to see the 48% of people who selected Griswold level excessive. I want to see them.
Oh, that would be pretty cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. If
Mhm.
we do have, you can always there is an email on the front of my channel, so people can always if you want to post send emails to that email address that's on the channel, you can always do that. So and we
Cool.
can always
Show
post
us
that on.
show us some blah. If I could talk, I'd tell you. Show us some cool lights
Yes.
and
And
displays.
before we
Mhm.
go any further, I wanted to say if you want to help support what we're doing here, we have we have an affiliate link in the description below for NordVPN. So NordVPN is I've used it in the past, and it was very helpful, very reliable, and had always thought it was very good for the time period I was using it. And I've heard several people say that you can use it for multiple things. I was using it to basically pretend I was in Germany when I was actually in the United States. I also used it to hide my location from Facebook because Facebook likes to like go through and harvest your data. So I don't like to log into Facebook. So what happens if you log into Facebook for too long and you don't log in? They will they will take it. They will force you to like log in or input some sort of special code just to continue looking at
Mhm.
their website. So by using the VPN, I was able to NordVPN specifically. Actually, I was able to keep them from figuring out where I was. It worked pretty well. So I didn't have to
Very
do.
cool. Very cool.
So, and I've also heard people say that you can watch TV shows and movies
You sure
from
can.
different.
That's what I've done when I've used a VPN in the past. I lived in Spain for a while, but not all TV shows and movies are available through streaming service to every country. So if you want to watch a show from that's only available in a certain country, a VPN is very helpful for that.
Yes. And I'm not sure if it works here. I do know that I was watching BBC television for a while,
Hmm.
and I didn't know about it. I didn't know how to use a VPN several years ago. This is like at least 10, maybe 12 years ago. I don't know if it would work on the BBC website. I'm curious. I would,
I
because
can't
when I went,
imagine why not.
I can't imagine why not either. So if it does, if someone could test out and let us know, that'd be great. But I remember going to the BBC website and I wanted to watch some shows, and they said, "Nope, you can't watch because you're not in, whatever
Mhm.
United Kingdom
Yep.
or whatever."
That's exactly how I've used a VPN before. You can't watch because you're not in the specific country. So you use the VPN to pretend that you're in that specific country. And voila, you can watch the show.
And before we go too far, we got a couple of people. Alejandro Jamie is saying with a little heart, I love. And Sherry's a friend of mine. So
Hi,
hi, Sherry.
Sherry.
There we go. So okay. So okay, so you have a question for our viewers for this week?
Um, since we're going to be watching Dickinson, let's go with do you like poetry? It's more of a yes or no kind of a thing, but kind of
Yeah,
yes, no, I don't care. Do
cool.
you like poetry? And tell us your favorite poet in the comments.
Oops. Tree. And tell us favorite poetry or author, right? Writer?
Poets. Yeah.
Poets.
Tell us.
Okay, yeah. Tell us your favorite poets. Okay. Oops. FAORTE. Favorite poets.
Mhm.
Okay, in the comments. Okay. All right. All right. So we just do simple yes, simple no, and I don't care.
Mhm.
No. Oops. Didn't do that right. There we go. And I don't care. Anything else?
Always got to be something for the apathetic.
Yes.
I don't know. I think it's kind of a straightforward thing. You can say maybe. I guess people can say maybe, but that would be more of an explanation in the comments.
Okay. Let's see that. Maybe uh, leave an explanation.
Mm,
Or just leave a comment to explain.
yeah.
Okay. Leave a comment. Okay. Alrighty. That work?
Cool.
Cool. Okay, cool. I was just make sure I don't have any misspellings, and okay, here we go. We're good. Cool.
Cool.
Alrighty. So for tonight's show, we were this is something I'd never heard of before. You told me this afternoon.
Hmm.
It is Dickinson. So let's see if I go to I'm going to keep your screen like
Yeah.
that
There you go.
so we can see better. So this is about Emily Dickinson, but you told me it was a comedy.
Yeah,
Um,
it's kind of a weird comedy show. It's very strange, and it strikes you very weirdly at first because you're kind of expecting it to be, like, full on period piece, but the way they talk is just so odd, but I kinda really liked it.
well, they talk in just very contemporary style. The very, very
Mhm.
modern. The dialogue is very modern. So
Yes.
obviously, and the stories are based, or not wholly based on. They're based. I'm sorry, they are based on Emily Dickinson, but they're not
Yes.
true to what really happened. So there's
Yeah, they're not there's elements of her life and things that are truth and, they've explored different parts of her life, and
right.
things like, she writes on any scrap of paper she can find and things like that, and they explore her relationship with, Susan and Sue and everything, and, like, it's just it's like a weird take on Emily Dickinson's life, and a lot of the not a lot of the dialogue, but some of the dialogue was obviously put in contemporary speak, but, based on real statements found in letters, that either Emily wrote or that were written to Emily.
Right. And from what I read, I did a little bit of background on her, just reading some things on the internet that basically while she was alive, she only died when she was 55. That's not really too old. That's actually,
No.
but
Yeah.
during her life, I don't think she ever got married,
No.
uh, but it is speculated that the woman that was in I only watched the first two episodes. Well, the
Yeah.
woman that she had the love of interest in was by some people true, but not
Yes.
everybody. So
I think
yeah, so there's
people like to dispute that, but it's basically the way that you see in, like, old paintings with 2 women laying in a bed and the caption is, "best friends," or the caption is "roommates," and things like that, so it's kinda like the writing is on the wall, people have just been ignoring it because that wasn't proper.
hmm, yeah, and the other things, I didn't mean to say that wasn't it was mostly based on actual events, but there are some things that are definitely not actually what
Oh,
happened, is
for
what I meant to say.
sure, for sure, and yeah, there are definitely liberties taken because we don't really know exactly, much about her life, just what we've gotten from, little bits of history and from letters and all obviously her myriad of poems.
Yeah, and for what I also read, and you probably know this as well, is that she did not become popular or famous until after she died. So
Right.
she only released like apparently like 8 poems
Mhm.
during her lifetime, but it was after she died. I forget who found the rest of the poetry, and then that was released, and that's when she became famous.
Yeah.
So it was apparently in a Foot Locker or something to that effect. I don't remember
Yeah.
exactly. And this is the real life Emily Dickinson, obviously. But
Yeah.
and so and that's when and a lot of the stuff was just like you said. I think you said this earlier. Is like just little statements, little sentences. Some of it's not even
Yeah.
fully written out.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I, I noticed in the show that they'll do that a lot. Like she'll say something, and it's like it looks like it's scribbled out, like it's maybe that they're trying to say this is what she was saying when she wrote that
Yeah.
sentence. So
So, you'll see, like, little bits of words scroll across, and you'll hear, like, more of a voiceover, or she'll talk and something. So each episode is the title of one of her poems, and so all of the words that you see floating around, that's the poem that the episode is focused on. And it was
gotcha.
her younger sister that published all of her poems after she died. She found a collection of nearly 1,800 poems.
Hmm. Oh, was it that many? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't know it was that many. Okay, I knew it was a high number, but I didn't know it was that high. Wow. Okay. So,
Yeah.
and then yeah, the her father was also a congressman in real
Mhm.
life. So in the first two episodes they show. I only saw the first two episodes so far. He talks about he's going to be running for I don't know which position, but I
Yeah.
looked up some background. He ran for a couple of different things. He was actually it wasn't just that, but other things as well.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah, yeah.
And from what I also read, a lot of the things about how he treated her was fairly accurate as far as
Mhm.
like he didn't want her writing and publishing things, so he did not
Right,
like that.
'cause, she was a woman and women don't do these things, that's for men.
And the other thing that I found was interesting, some people stated that the woman that the character, because she's of Emily Dickinson, it's
Mhm,
obviously is not is fictional, is based on the actual character, actual person. I mean, the
mhm.
character. Some people said they got it down pretty well. She actually was kind of cocky in some ways, and
Yeah,
a little.
I could picture that as well.
So obviously, if you exclude the actual dialogue, which is obviously modern day, if you but the
Yeah,
actual
yeah.
attitude, personality, they said that that was pretty close to how they believe she actually was in real life. So I thought
Mhm.
that was kind of interesting as well. So
Yeah, yeah. It's
and
very cool.
so the first episode, let me bring that up here so we can look at it. Here we go. So I don't remember what the first episode was. Let me bring that up here. Give me a second.
Mhm.
Um, okay. So let's see. So here we go. I'm bringing up IMDb as we're talking here. Okay, because I could not stop is the name of the episode. Is that right? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So, hold on a second. I've got too many things on my screen here. Okay, so here's the IMDb thing. Okay, so here's IMDb for that. So, okay, what was do you remember what the basic plot for this was?
No, I got super busy today and I couldn't watch the first episode. I just remember her and Sue in the rain, basically.
Okay. Sherry waves hi. She's probably waving hi to you. She did that on another show.
Shakespeare, she says.
And Shakespeare too, yes. So,
Oh, there you go. Shakespeare is great. Uh,
so let me see. I mean, I just watched it. And I can't remember. I cannot remember the basic
well,
plot.
we're gonna go over it. We'll be able to tell everybody
I
as we're
remember
going
the
through.
second one. The second one was more memorable for me, not this first one for some reason. So yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So
I
here's the first one.
remember the first time I watched it, I remember sitting there thinking, "This is very odd," and then I watched, like, 7 episodes, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't stop watching."
Oh
Oh, yeah,
really?
I love this. Those are all real little images of real poems that Emily Dickinson had written. She got her hand on any scrap of paper she could, and she would write.
Yeah. Now, of course, she she's she never got married, so she lived in her. From what I read, she actually lived in the same house, or basically her entire life.
Yes.
So in real
Yeah.
life, that is. So I assume they're
Mhm.
going to, follow that along with that as well
Yes.
as progress. So I find
Mhm.
that quite interesting. So I assume she lived off the wealth of her family because her family looks like they're pretty well
Yes.
off.
They
So
sure are. Yeah, and her father and her brother owned a law firm, so
okay, so because I can imagine, I'd love to be able to sit back and just write poetry and not worry about anything else in life, and but
yeah.
I've got the
Yeah.
bills to pay, so you know.
No, her dad took care of that, and then once her dad passed, it was her brother because her brother's, the head of the family now that dad's gone and that kind of a thing.
Now, as far as the whole idea about so women don't should do very many things. Is that emphasized a lot through these episodes?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
because
it's
I
one of the things she struggles with a lot.
I was I know I'm jumping ahead here, but the second episode I looked this up. The second episode is actually not real. In case you're wondering, the where she went to she had to sneak in as a man because they wouldn't let her in. That actually is
Oh,
not. That actually did not happen in real life. In fact, she
yeah.
actually went to Amherst College or University, whatever it was called, and actually was actually able to learn volcanoes
Mhm,
like everyone else was. So that the
mhm.
whole scenario was actually made up. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but which leads me to ask how much of it is actually real. I'm sure a lot of it is. I'm sure. I'm
I
not.
think they took a lot of I mean, it's kinda hard to work with when you only have scraps of who a person was, and you just kinda have to the creator of the show just filled in the blanks around, what they had to work with. So, she had, letters that and all of Emily's poems and, like, they have, files of letters that she wrote and letters that were written to her. So they tried to create this persona and this show to reflect that, but obviously some of it, takes creative license because you can't it's hard to get the full picture of somebody from just scraps of their life. So they put as much reality as they could into it.
Mhm.
Um, but they but obviously they had to come up with quite a bit of it on their own.
Right. And the other aspect what I was leading up to is if how much of it is real and how much is actually based on how women were treated during that time period. Are they trying to
Um,
overemphasize and maybe making some of that up just to push the narrative sometimes?
I
Though
don't know.
sometimes
I mean, it was 1800s. I mean, season 3 they talk about the Civil War and everything. So, I mean, there is a kind of a balance of women kind of doing what they want, kind of, this is what we're supposed to want and everything. And they push it a little bit, but not too badly.
so as far as like you said season 3, does the war actually begin by then? I'm just curious.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, it does. Okay. All right. All righty.
Hmm.
So these are just scenes of coming in. So it was estimated that this took place during I forget when I don't know. I
The
guess
show's first
1850.
season is set between 1854 and 55.
Oh, okay. 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 I think I remember hearing that. Cool. Thank you. Appreciate that. So,
Yeah.
and so this is her mother that we're seeing here, and that's her sister, correct?
Yes, her sister quickly becomes one of my favorite characters. She's completely insane. I don't know if she was completely insane in real life, but in this show, she's crazy and I love her.
Oh,
And
interesting. Go ahead.
no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, no, finish what you're gonna say because it's not that
I was gonna say her mother is played by Jane Kierakowski, who's one of my favorite actresses.
oh,
She's
okay.
fantastic, and she's got such great comedic timing, and she just plays everything she does so well, and she never fails to make me laugh.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. She was Jane Kierakowski. Wow, she's look. I'll bring up her thing here.
Yeah, she's in a lot. First introduction to her, I think my main introduction to her was in 30 Rock. She was Jenna in 30 Rock, but she's so funny. She's in so many different things, and she's so funny.
Oh, so she was born exactly 13 days before I was. So quite
Wow,
interesting.
look at that.
There we go. Oh, there you go. So let me go back over here. The what I was going to say before I didn't want to cut you off was the sister did not seem to have much of a prominent role in the first 2 episodes. Um,
No, she's always more of a side character, but she just gets kind of crazier, and and she's so funny, I think.
okay. So basically, what you're saying is probably as the show progresses, if you stick with it, then it
Yeah.
becomes more like okay. Because I
Mhm.
really didn't see much in the first 2 episodes to really make me want to say that she was a likable character. She just seemed to be there, but just not really
Yeah,
contributing.
yeah,
So
exactly. That's, she starts out that way, but she gets a little more prominent, and she's just crazy and funny.
right now, oh yeah, there's this. This scene where she covers her face.
Yeah.
I've never seen the movie, but I've heard of it. The Ring, I
The
guess.
Ring, yeah.
Okay.
Immediate thought there for sure.
Yeah, okay. So for several years seen people make this kind of
Mhm.
person doing like this, and I didn't know it was a movie actually called The Ring. So that's
Yeah.
now I do know. So I know what they're I guess what they're imitating here. So um
Well, I mean, she was just kind of being obstinate because she does not want to get married, and this is one of her suitors. She has many suitors throughout the whole thing, but she never actually marries anybody.
right, and she not only I got to say not only is the dialogue very contemporary, but also the attitude is very contemporary.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so it's more like, and I was reading one of the reviews for one of the episodes, and someone said they hated it because and that's not, I'm not saying it's not me. I just want to emphasize it's not
Mhm. Mhm.
because I do like it. He was saying he hated it because he said, well, the show was basically like people, modern day actors, and all they do is put costumes on, and they're just trying to pretend that there's something that they're not. So or something
I
to that.
mean, that's you just described acting, but
Yeah. Well.
but I think honestly, I feel like young people are going to be the same no matter what century you're in, like out from under your parents' eye, you're going to be talking about whatever you want to talk about in the first place, like, so they, were a little bit more formal in front of her parents, and then they just, lapse back into, their friendly relationship here to talk. And he's like, I want to, I want to marry you. We would be great together. You could still write. And I'd still be great. And she's just always like, nah, I'm good, thanks. And I don't know, I thought it would be off-putting, but I really found myself liking it.
The one little bit of trivia, it's not a big deal, I wanted to point this out. I was doing some of the looking up. They were smoking a cigarette here, and smoking was available back at this time period. However, the cigarettes were not readily available to the public.
Right, it doesn't look like a cigarette, it looks like I don't know, I looked to me like it was something like a roll your own kind of a deal, just kind
Okay.
of paper and tobacco, because it doesn't seem to have like the cigarette look to it that I can tell. It just looks like a white piece of paper.
Right. So yeah, it was I whatever it is, yeah, it didn't seem like that. That's just little trivia thing I was reading it before, so I thought I'd bring it up there. So
That's cool.
yeah, here we go. So this is
Yes.
she's married to or she loves
Her
death.
first scene of her with death, yeah. She has an interesting little relationship with death.
As the story progresses, you mean, as the episodes?
Yeah, she stays in contact with death, so it's pretty interesting. And then one or two of her poems, I mean, a lot of her poems deal with death. She lived through the Civil War, so I can't imagine she wouldn't have written about death, she pretty much lived it for part of her life. But one or two of the poems in the show, deal with death and things like that. So her relationship with death changes throughout the whole thing. It shifts and stuff, and it's really interesting.
Okay. They actually introduced the character. He was actually sitting inside the carriage. Is it the same actor throughout the series?
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm not sure if it was this episode or the other episode where she actually got a chance to go inside and talk to him. So
yeah, I don't remember.
Let's see. Yeah, this is the first suitor, and they he doesn't really like him.
Rejected.
So,
And her mother obviously wants her to get married, so she'll leave the house because that's what she's supposed to do: get married and leave and go.
Let's see.
Her dad loves her, and it's okay if you stay. And he thinks about wanting her to get married, but then if she gets married, she won't be here anymore. And
one thing also I wanted to add as we go on, another piece of trivia is the fact that the real Emily Dickinson wore a white dress all the time, and as she got older, though, I'm not sure at this point in her life if she actually did or not, but as she got older and she was basically staying inside the house, whenever she came out, everyone said she was always wearing a white dress, and so I don't remember, they gave her a name I don't remember what it was, something like the woman in white or something. But yeah, point that out.
You don't see she doesn't get that dress until the end of the series.
Oh, okay. Oh, you mean the one that's okay. So you're saying,
yeah.
You're
saying so they do make reference to that dress. It's not this one.
Okay. I thought they were that the white dress here was supposed to be.
They probably want to, with the first episode, they probably wanted to, evoke that thought, but she doesn't actually get that specific dress that you're talking about until the end of the series.
Okay, so the series right now is actually so it's concluded. So there's no more new episodes. Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
It's 3 total, 3 seasons
total.
Gotcha.
I'm not sure if Apple TV canceled it or if they meant to end it. I've seen rumors of both.
Okay, so there's no chance of it coming back, is what it sounds like at this point.
That's what it seems like, yeah.
Okay. So,
this is her brother.
Oh, that's right. Yes, and the brother is going to marry the woman that she loves.
Yes.
In the story, and she's. Oh yeah, here we go.
There it was. Yeah.
The poetry. There we go.
There, yeah. So anytime you see any words scrawled across, those are actual words written by Emily Dickinson, right. And that's the poem that the episode is based on. Because I could not stop before.
Oh, interesting. Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah. There you go. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect time to stop there. Thank you for pointing out because I didn't even catch that was the same title there. So
Yeah.
so in the father and then going through the approval process, blah 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 blah.
Right, because Sue's whole family died, so she's kind of bad luck.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
They're
So, I mean,
like, that's her fault somehow, you know?
so this is definitely supposed to be a comedy, right? As far as
Yeah, yeah. I
okay,
was like, I mean, a bunch of ridiculous things have happened so far, step 2, you know, like, and all the talk and stuff.
because I remember when they say to her so at some point they say your family going to be there and she said my family is dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it came across that the delivery was obviously meant to
Like,
make people laugh. So
deadpan, yeah.
yeah. So let's see. We move on. The letter was for her. Yeah, it's just kind of
Yeah, the
funny.
letter was for Sue.
Yeah, do not read this.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, and he opens it, and even inside, there's another thing that says, "Do not read this. Give it to Sue."
Yeah.
Meet me in the orchard. And so they're discussing her getting married because Emily's obviously like, "Don't marry him. You should be with me." And she's like, "My whole family's dead. I kind of have to do something. Can't actually marry you."
Yeah. So I mean, technically, I mean, people. It's obviously there've been gay and lesbian relationships in the past. They just had to
Hmm.
they just obviously weren't legally allowed to get married. So in fact,
Right.
I don't even think during this
Or
I don't think during this period of time marriage was even a really a legal thing at this point. I don't think it came out until like the 1860s, if I'm not mistaken. So
marriage itself.
yeah, I don't legally if you're recognized by the state. I don't think it was.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it was actually legally binding anyway at this point for anybody. So
Hmm.
it was just a marriage between two people anyway. So it
Right.
just would obviously wouldn't be recognized by the church is what I would be leaning up to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but obviously people were doing it back in the day. It just wasn't.
Hmm.
So, but anyway, yeah, I think it'd be much more harder for two women. I would assume at that period of time. So,
Yeah.
uh, so we talk about anything to add to this? Oh yeah, we get the actual. This is
Yeah,
when
we
we.
get the actual thing. So that's just like one of the most highly contested points of Emily Dickinson's life. Was she actually with Sue or was she not with Sue? And I think I said before that I think it's kind of like, when you see an old painting and it's two naked women in a bed and it says, best friends and things like that, or two men and like even in times of ancient Greece, everybody just kind of loved everybody and they really cleaned that up and like pretended it didn't exist for a while when it became like a Roman Catholic state. But like these things did exist then, even if people didn't talk about them. And a lot of Emily's poetry that clearly is marked for Sue is their love poems. So people, and it didn't seem like the kind of poems she had written for her sister or her brother or different relationships in her life. It seemed very much like she was in love with Sue. And she did have a few fleeting relationships with different men, but Sue was always a constant in her life.
You talk about the Greeks. I'd heard that the Greeks during the Olympics they would encourage men who are in the Olympics to be with other men so that they wouldn't have a family. As,
Mhm.
but
Yeah, and I mean there are definitely stories and like ancient Greek stories and like um Achilles and Patroclus and like different ancient characters that were involved in relationships and different gods that were, interested. I can't remember the names of anybody, but there are two gods that were interested in the same man and they both loved him. So one of them killed the guy so they would stop fighting over him. And it's just like crazy stuff like that. But when you involve the Roman Catholic version of the church, they kind of wiped all that out as much as they could because not for not approved of, but
right,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, okay. Let's see. Uh, as, the one
Oh
thing
yeah, they were at a funeral.
the one thing I would say is when we're kind of jumping ahead to the next episode. They had students that were white and they had students that were black. I,
Mm.
that
Yeah,
didn't.
that was interesting.
Yeah, I don't think that would. I think it'd be more possible to have more likely to have male and female students together rather than people of different
Mhm.
races together at
I
that
mean,
period.
they are from the North, and so there are a few Black people here in this town, and a few people that were, freed. And one of the families that becomes involved is a freed family and stuff that works for Emily's family a few times, and um,
I I will
and
say, yeah, sorry.
mhm,
I will say Massachusetts, if you're curious about the slave, it was Massachusetts in slavery until like 1787, I think it was. I can look it up. But
mhm.
obviously, when all 13 states were formed, all 13 states in 1776 had slavery. That's a fact.
Right,
And
right, for
yeah,
sure.
Massachusetts was one, I think one of the, actually Vermont was the first one that seceded from New York. And then, after that, it was Massachusetts, like within 8 years or so after 1776 or so, sometime in that period. So they
Hmm.
were one of the first ones to actually abolish it completely.
Right.
Um, yeah. And uh, I'm sorry. Were you going to add anything? I didn't mean to cut you off like that. So.
No, no, that's fine.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, and but as far as I know, segregation was still pretty prominent.
Yeah,
In,
yeah. So the school thing, that was interesting that they did it that way.
yeah.
Because even like there are some arguments some of the people make that are like, well, there are still slaves down south, and it's like, so it's not really our problem. And people get into different fights about that in this show even as well. So
Hmm.
it's and they try and like pick sides in the Civil War and like, but we have family down south and they're good people, even if they do happen to own slaves. And it's like, you can't, those two sentences don't work together. That's not, you can't be good people yet own slaves. That's not how that works. But they, um, they do address that in this show as well. It's an interesting time.
Okay. Okay. And let's see. What's going on? I forgot where this is. What is going on here? Anything's
This is a funeral.
a funeral. That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Although now they're back at the house and playing games and stuff.
Yeah.
It's the late 1800s. Funerals happen a lot.
The 1800s. What do you
Yeah,
mean?
it's the late 1800s. Oop,
It's not. It's 1850s, right? That would be the. I
yeah,
mean, yeah, because late
yeah, that's true,
mid
good point.
1800s. Because late
Mid
1800s.
1800s.
Yeah. Okay. Because I mean, they're the industrial age at that point.
That's a good point, yeah.
So
Uh,
okay.
and he's again reiterating that she's, "I'll marry you and you can still write." And she's like, "Nah." And she's a terrible cook, but she's a good baker, so she bakes pretty well.
Mm.
And only when she feels like it. She doesn't do things for other people just because, but she just, does things when she wants to.
I also want to emphasize, getting back into the slavery thing. I haven't watched too much of the slavery issues, but I do know. The American Civil War is one of my favorite periods of history that I like to. And
Mm,
there's a misconception that the North was really trying to end slavery. There were a lot of people in the North that really wanted slavery to continue. In fact, they
mhm.
profited heavily during the slave trade.
Everybody
So
did, yeah.
yeah, and there was even a president that was, I forget who ran against Lincoln at one point, saying he will make sure that the Negro, and that's the word they use, will
Yes,
be separate from the white people and all this stuff.
right.
They
I mean, even Lincoln was like, "Okay, like, to end this war, we gotta end slavery, but, do you guys wanna just, like, go back to Africa? Because you don't wanna stay here, right?" Like, that was Lincoln's take on it too, even. So it was like,
yeah,
they ended it, which is awesome, but it wasn't because they wanted to, it was because they wanted to win the war,
right, yeah.
which
Yeah, because Frederick Douglass. Yeah, because it wasn't at the beginning of the war. The North didn't have a reason to fight the war, so Frederick Douglass came to Lincoln and said, "Let's make it a war about emancipation." That's when he drafted
mhm,
up the Gettysburg Address,
proclamation.
what
Yeah,
became the
yeah,
Gettysburg Address, I should say.
that, yeah.
And so, yeah, and that's what they and then when the war was done, they said all along, well, that's what we're trying to do. So it's
Right,
debatable.
yeah.
Debate. You could. There's arguments to be made, on both sides, but I would say that there was a large percentage of people on the North that really did not care about slavery, or didn't care if it ended or not. So on both on the North
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
So
I mean, I think it's still kind of whitewashed how much the US would not have gotten its start without slavery, like, I mean, I think we I don't know, we under talk is not a word. We don't talk about it enough. about the fact that we would not be a country if slavery was not a thing, and like those are the people that built our country. We made it off of their backs, and I don't think that's
And
talked about or addressed enough in school, because there are things that I've learned in the past 3 years that I feel like I should have learned in high school, and I did not.
I agree. And to take one step further, the one group of people that is hardly, very rarely ever talked about are the Native American people from
Right.
1570 to 1620, the slave trade out of North America to Europe.
Mm,
That was a major, there was a major slave trade outside, and they were, and then once African people were brought in, they were more immune to European diseases, so the slave
mhm.
trade for Native American people stopped at that point.
Right.
So then it's never talked about. You never hear about the Native American people. So
No, no.
it's no, I'm not trying to say
No,
anything.
totally.
I'm just saying, the whole thing should be discussed. You're right. Everything should be
It
discussed.
should be. It should be, because honestly, I hadn't heard that. You're the first person telling me that. And why did I not know that in school? Like, this is something we should learn about. We should know our history and how we got started as a country, no matter how dark it is, because if you don't talk about it, you might be doomed to repeat it. And that's just terrible.
Right. Agreed. Yeah. In case you're wondering, I don't know if I said this before. My two favorite areas of history are the American Civil War and Native American history. So
Yes, I think you have mentioned that.
so anytime I can pop something in there, I'd like to do that. So. All right. So let's see. Anything significant to their dinner that
Just talking about how Lavinia wants to be married, Emily doesn't want to be married, Sue and Austin are getting married, and awkward tension between Sue and the argument here between her father and her. And I wish I remember what it was about. Probably that she didn't want to get married to him.
here's
And now she's running away to death.
yeah, this is where we first. Okay, this is the scene. Okay,
There
cool.
he is, yeah.
Who's this? Is this anyone in particular that we should know? Is this actor?
Probably. Do I know him off the top of my head?
I'll
No.
bring it. Here we go. Here he is right here. No, do not know him. So he was pretty good though, actually.
Wiz Khalifa. Oh, okay. I do know him.
Do you? Okay. Is he an artist?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I was okay. The professionally as an American rapper, singer. Okay, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He's a
He
singer.
seemed like one. He just the way he presented himself, he came across as one.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I liked his character. So very calm, very and
Yeah. Matter of fact, because, death is calm and matter of fact.
right. So she was just I don't remember what the conversation was. Was there anything specific that was really needed?
We're great at this. She was just talking to Death about her life and, like what she has to do. And he's telling her what he has to do. And it's all just a part of life.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So,
yeah. Now she's talking to her father, he's apologizing for the fight. And, he loves her. It's kind of rude almost how much he loves her more than the other kids. Like he never says that obviously, but you can always see he always takes special care of her and her feelings and her needs. And he's apologizing for the fight and everything, which it's interesting that he always caters to her needs when he is also pretty hardcore on the whole women being in their place kind of thing. Like he even wrote a paper about women being in their place in the home and stuff, and how women
yeah.
don't need to learn.
Yeah. Was that real? I wonder if that was real. If he actually
I'm
wrote that.
not sure. I wanted to look that up too.
But the funniest thing, weird thing about this scene was he actually gets into her bed at the end and falls
Yeah.
asleep. I was like, what is that about?
Yeah, because like he likes her more than anybody else.
So and he falls asleep. Yeah, there we go. It's like it was just really bizarre. So and that was the end of the first episode. So all right. So first episode, it was good. I thought the second episode, even though it's not really based on anything that actually happened, was a little stronger for me. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, this was a pretty good episode. But it was very forgetful. So
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and they were, instead of like telling Emily she had to do, she had to do these chores, you can't just do nothing. He, in that apology, he's like, okay, I'll hire somebody to do the chores so you don't have to. Like, she literally has to do nothing. She lived a very comfortable, luxurious life.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then yeah, the second episode is where they hire the maid. To bring
Hmm.
up. So here we go. So we can start. Anything else you'd like to say before we start this second episode?
No.
Okay, so second episode. The basic plot on this one is that she is. It's called something. The volcano is in the title. I can't remember. Let me bring it up here.
Hmm.
Uh, next one. It's sec. Should be coming up here. There it is. So I have never seen volcanoes. So
Mm.
as I said already, this one is not based on something that really happened in real life, but
Right.
but it's basically she and her friends dress up like men or boys or whatever you want to call it, and
Hmm.
to sneak into to see the lecture on volcanoes. That's the
Yeah.
basic plot of this one. So and
Hmm.
they claim that they were forbidden, but in real life she actually did attend classes to at Amherst and to actually learn about volcanoes anyway. So I
Yeah.
as I said, I think it's kind of weird that they would create this scenario since it really didn't happen.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
again, it's just kind of storytelling. You just kind of go with it. It did make a good story, whether it's true or not. It made a fun story.
yeah. So, okay, so let me bring over here. So, I mean, is there anything new that's added to as you say, as the stories go along, we learn about the other sister, and is there
Yeah.
anything else that gets emphasized as the stories go along?
No, we just kind of learn a little bit more about everybody out in her life, and you kind of get insight into her mind, but she's a little weird, but I guess that's kind of the point because Emily Dickinson was a little weird.
Yes, yes. So, and so this
And
is the
then
two
her
of
and
them.
Sue stayed there because her and Austin are not married yet, and Sue's whole family's dead, so she doesn't really have anywhere else to be.
Is this Emily's bedroom? I'm curious. Does
Yes.
that mean her dad was sleeping in the same that bed, that tiny bed as?
Yeah, that'd be yeah.
Okay, that's kind of weird. Okay, so all right, so okay, we're just seeing the Dickinson. So okay, it was just the title there. All right, so here we get to introduce to the maid.
Mm. Maggie.
Maggie's her name. Okay, thank you. So and she I assume she becomes a regular on the
Yes.
series.
Yeah.
Okay, and
And
she
her
speaks with.
mother is very much not a fan
Oh, okay, okay. I remember. That's right.
because
Yeah, yes, you're right. That's right.
she's
Yes.
a good homemaker. Does she need help? I don't need help. I can do this all on my own.
All right. So, and let's see. Uh, as we okay, I kind of jumped ahead there. I
And
guess there's
she
nothing.
is Irish, and they do talk a little bit about, Irish immigrants at the time as well.
All right. So I just don't know if I should bring this up or not because I can't read what it says, but I'll bring it up anyway. Sorry. Hope it's a positive thing. He's got a little smiley face at the end, I
There's a
think.
smiley face. It
Yeah.
could be it could be, a trick or a trap, but it looks positive.
Yes. So, all right. So as we go along, uh, oh yeah, this is where what I'm sorry. I thought this was where they learned about the lecture. Is it?
In the newspaper, yeah, I think so.
Oh,
And she's like, "We wanna go, I would love to go," and he's like, "No, girls don't do this. You don't need that. You can't hold it in your head." And despite the fact that he knows she writes poetry, despite the fact that actually, I don't know if he does know at this point, but even when he does know poetry, like, know that she writes poetry, it's like, that stuff is not for you. He's very traditional, I suppose, in the way of women work in the household and men go to school.
yes, yes. And I think this is where they showed the no, it was closer to the end when they showed that list that he
Mm,
made. I think it was closer to the end. So,
yeah.
where what women should be doing and all that stuff. So,
Yeah, yeah. I wish I remember what he called it. I can't quite find it, so maybe it wasn't a thing. And this is where they're arguing, why did you hire a maid? Like, I can do all of these things. Don't you think I'm a good housewife? I take care of the whole house. And he's trying to show her the benefits of it, and she's not quite sold at the moment.
Right. Okay, so here this is they show this one dress that they liked. One of them liked anyway. I remember that. That's the only thing I remember from
Hmm.
this scene. That it was
Yeah,
custom for someone else. So there it is.
right.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. One of the prettiest women in one of girls. I don't know how old they are. I'm assuming they're supposed to be teenagers or something, 20s maybe. Really have no idea how old they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
I guess I could look up how old Emily was at that point. But yeah, but Betty is the seamstress, and you saw the other man, his name is Henry, that's her husband that works at their house occasionally.
Where? Oh, where was he at? I'm sorry. Was he in there? Did I
He was in
miss
the
him?
first episode.
Oh,
You saw him like very, very briefly.
at the funeral? Near the funeral, right? Is that?
No, no, not at the funeral. He was at the house doing some yard work or something. It was
Oh, okay.
like half a second, so we really didn't see him too much, but you will see more of him. He joins the 1st Regiment of Black soldiers in the Union Army.
Oh, okay. Uh, is that the 54th Massachusetts?
Yes, I think
Yeah. Okay.
good for you.
Yeah,
I should have
yeah.
known you would knew that. You would have known that.
Yeah, it was a very famous regiment. That's why. Yeah, they were the first all black regiments. But they
Mhm,
were later led by a very young colonel who was he was like
mhm.
20 years old. But yeah, so but he was a white. What I meant to say is he was white. They were still led by a white person. So
Yes.
they were
Yeah.
black people were not allowed to lead, but they were allowed to fight and die. So yeah, at that point.
Right, yeah. No, they actually play it really well, and it's really, I think it's really well done the way they do it.
Okay.
I like it.
So all right. So as we go forward here. I don't remember
Yes, they're
anything.
talking about dresses. Lavinia wants a new dress so she can get a boyfriend because she wants to get married, and that's what she wants. She wants to be a housewife.
These houses are they? This looks
That
like a set
is
almost. When they show these buildings, like you can see on the background here, they look like almost like they're a set. Like because there's not enough trees. It doesn't look like they really lived in. I'm wondering how
Mhm.
authentic these really are.
The house, well, I'm not sure, but I know that, um her house is still there. You can go to it, and they modeled it specifically after the house that she lived in.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I mean,
Mhm. So,
what
like, this is as accurate as you're gonna find.
but this is not the real house though. This is probably just recreated. Is what
No,
you're saying.
if you see, like, some front exterior shots are the actual house, and there's one episode where, like, not time travel exactly, she's just kinda crazy, and she, envisions seeing her house as a museum in the future, so, like, they actually do film in the house
Oh,
at
really?
some
Oh,
point,
that's pretty
yeah.
cool. Oh,
Mhm.
cool. All right. So let's see. I know. Oh, that's right.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is yeah, they're getting ready to to dress up and go into the into
Yeah,
uh
going through some old clothes.
yeah.
Having fun dressing up.
Yeah, of course the dance moves they're definitely very very
Oh, yeah.
so let's see. So we go here and of course they were discovered right away.
Yeah, by her friend there, the guy that wants to marry her.
So and this is the scene I was talking about. You can see you see the white students and
Yeah,
black. So that seemed kind of odd for me
it
to me, but
does seem kind of odd. I wonder, I would have to look that up
yeah.
because it was even a big deal for, kids in the 60s to go to elementary school, so, black college students at that time are probably a little not correct.
Right. So there he is right here. This is the part where he comes up and recognizes her. So it's pretty funny. Um and she says no I'm not, or she pulls out she says some other name, I forget what name it was. So
Mhm.
and then
Yeah.
obviously she knows she's been caught, so she just obviously
Yeah, they
um
just
and he says he
go with
won't
it.
and he says, "You're such a nice, pretty young boy," or something like that.
Yeah.
And then so the guy looks at him kind of weird, so he says, "You're a pretty young boy too," or something. So
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
so I will say this: the guy who's giving the lecture here, when it's discovered, we haven't got to that point yet. When it's discovered that they are women,
Mhm,
he actually says, "Well, they can stay here," or something like that. He doesn't.
mhm.
He
He
doesn't. It
doesn't
doesn't.
care.
But I think the student's reaction was a little. Well, obviously this didn't happen anyway, but the
Right.
student's reaction seemed a little overboard.
Mhm.
I don't really think. I don't know because it doesn't really happen. It doesn't really matter anyway, I guess. But it
No.
just kind of silly that the boys would go, oh, they're women. We need to get them out of here. It's the couple of them were just like they need to leave. It's like I don't really think that would happen. I don't know. Maybe
Right, yeah, I don't know. I really don't know.
it's. But anyway, like I said, it doesn't really like I'm repeating myself. It doesn't really matter because it didn't happen anyway because women were allowed to go to attend
Mhm.
lectures. So anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, so he gives the lecture. Um, who is the assistant? He comes up here and he's the one. Is that someone?
Oh,
Is that,
that's isn't that her friend there, the guy that wants to marry her? Yeah,
hmm,
that's the guy that wants to marry her.
yeah, there we go. So yeah, I knew there was someone that has some significance there. So he's getting ready to show everything. I like his like safety glasses there. Kind of
Yeah.
interesting. I don't know if those are real, but they look cool though. So um,
Mm.
so look at this.
Yeah, and that kid the other guy discovers him because they start holding hands, and he's like, "What are you doing?"
Oh, is that what happened? Oh, I didn't see.
Yeah, they were holding hands, and he's like, "This isn't right."
Let's see.
And then
Right.
she takes off her hat and she screams and she's being weird because she's Emily and she's weird.
So yeah, then they start screaming. She's a girl, get her out of there. And then the lecturer's like, yeah, no, they can stay or something. So
But they don't. They just leave.
yeah, and then she has to. Her father's angry at her because she did this, and
Mhm.
so so that's when she goes to learn. She has to learn the maid, the Irish maid. She
Mhm.
asked if she could teach her how to make bread.
Yeah.
So, and I
Yeah.
guess that was a way to help win her father back, so to speak. I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they
So
do these kinds of things all the time, like, he'll make her mad, she'll make him mad, and they both try and, like, make up as best they can.
yeah, this was
She's
kind of
been
response.
knitting because she was
Yeah,
so frustrated and upset.
she didn't know. So the father is getting angry at her. I was gonna say obviously, but it doesn't really matter. The father. Oh, there we go. There we go. Perfect.
The proper place of women. Let's see. Gonna Google that right now.
Sure.
Um,
So yeah, I'll bring up my magnifier here. Oh, this doesn't. Oh, it's just, no, that doesn't help at all. Not
it
really.
doesn't look quite like it's
Who knows? I don't think it's even worth trying to figure out what it says. There we go.
yeah, I don't think it's real. But I think, you know, it you hear it a little bit, but he's also super obsessed with having the family name remembered, and he's convinced that he's gonna be the one that gets their name remembered forever. And like the whole time, you know that she's the one that gets the family name remembered.
Right, right. Well, more so than him. Maybe he is somewhat of he has some sort of notoriety, but yeah, but nowhere near as much as she does later on.
Right.
Exactly. So, yeah. So that's the list. And was that what he was? I remember him saying that. Was that scene where he said that to her right there? Was it, or was it throughout the whole? I can't remember exactly when he told her that. I remember him saying something to that effect. Was it
Saying what? I'm
when?
sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. He was telling her that he wanted the family name to.
Oh,
Was it
yeah, he says it's a lot during the whole yeah, and he said it there, and, like, that's not a good way to have he doesn't wanna besmirch the family name
right?
and
What?
things like that. That's the writing for the
And
poetry. "I have never seen volcanoes, but when the travelers tell how those old phlegmatic mountains, usually so still, bear within appalling ordinance, fire and smoke and gun, taking villages for breakfast and appalling men. If the stillness is volcanic in the human face, when upon a pain titanic, features keep their place.
Oh, very well. Oh, that's pretty good. The no, I'm curious. At the very beginning of the first episode, you pointed out that the writings that they showed were actually the actual writings of.
Yes.
Are these writings actually her handwriting that they're scrolling across the screen, or are they?
I
Uh,
yes.
okay, okay, so they just lifted it off and then put it in there for the effect. Okay,
Hmm.
it's pretty good. So
Yeah, I really liked that too.
yeah, all right. So the mother, I forget what the mother. She upset about the fact that the maid is there.
Yeah, she's still upset about that. She can do everything. She doesn't need help. It's fine.
Yeah.
And now Emily has to help because they don't need the maid and they have to show father, we don't need this other person in my household.
All right.
So then
The
she
milk.
shows her how to make bread,
Yes. So, and there we go.
which
And
takes so much longer than that, but okay.
oh, does it? Oh, okay.
Oh my god.
I've
That
never
would
made.
have to like so it would need to have like risen in that kitchen. The dough by itself would need to have risen in that kitchen for like at least 2 hours.
Oh, really? Oh,
At
wow.
least, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Uh, yeah.
And the oven that they have there is like it's really it look pretty authentic. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, that's just basically a stove, yeah, with the fireplace and everything. The oven looks pretty cool. I wonder what my bread would taste like if I made it in a brick oven like that. Probably pretty darn good.
Pretty interesting. So 2 hours to make it just like that. Just that only that would take 2 hours just to make that. Really?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
because I
wow.
mean, once you get all the dough together, you have to let the dough rise before you bake it.
Okay. I don't
And
know
then
how
you
to
have
do
to
that.
like shape it, and then the cuts in it, they do that before you bake it so that it doesn't like break and everything in the wrong way, and it keeps its shape, and then you would bake it. Some doughs need a lot longer to rise, but generally 2 hours is usually a good amount of time for dough to rise.
Right. Okay. All right. Cool. I didn't know that. I didn't realize it took so long to do that. That's interesting.
Hmm.
So, cool. I learned something new today. Thank you.
No problem.
They like to. This is the second. I don't want to emphasize this, but this is the second time they've shown her feet for some reason. So there's
Yeah.
another foot shot where they show that as well. So I'm beginning to
Hmm.
think of watching a Quentin Tarantino movie for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
and then she's in there with Sue.
they're talking, and I don't remember. This is the what was there anything special about the conversation that we I don't
Mainly
remember.
they're just, she's honestly Emily throughout this whole thing, and I imagine she's kind of the similar in her life, is like she's selfish. She's so selfish. And like she focuses on herself so much because like Sue, she's an orphan. Her whole family died. And so Emily having a fight with her dad shouldn't be the priority of I'm gonna comfort you, Emily. You had a fight with your dad. Like Emily never really comforts Sue for the fact that her whole family is dead. And anytime Sue struggles with anything, I don't think Emily even really sees it. She doesn't get it. I don't know. I feel like she has a disconnect of emotion. Like she can pour all these emotions into poems, but I don't think she can see it when it's right in front of her.
Do you think it's intentional, or do you think it might be like bad
No,
writing? Or do
it's
you?
definitely intentional because, like,
Okay.
they play the acting beautifully for Sue's character. Like, you can see that she's struggling with this, and you can also see that Emily is just completely oblivious.
Okay. Oh, alrighty. I just want and then obviously this goes on. No, as far as the series goes, I mean the relationship continues. Is that right?
Mhm.
All the way to the end. Okay.
Yeah, they have ups and downs and different things, but yeah, their relationship continues through the whole thing.
And I gotta be careful when I show some of this because it's like
Yeah.
provocative here. So okay. So Okay. What was there anything? Oh, they went. I forgot they went back to the. Oh, that's right. This is.
Yeah, it's intertwined with this, and they use it's a little allegory.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's get past it.
Volcanoes.
Yes. There we go. Oh, it was the end. Okay.
That was the end.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So okay. So second episode, I would say I would rate this one. Oh, this was a preview. That's right. There was a
Yeah,
preview
it's
for.
previews. Yeah.
So I would say this. I'd rate the second one higher than. Like I said, I already said this, but I would rate it higher than the first one. Uh,
Yeah, for sure.
Lewin Game says, "Oi, oi back,
Boy.
oi." Um, and is as far as the what we learn in this episode as a viewer, is it relevant later on as the shows progress? Do you think that what this scene, because it was obviously them dressing up like men, it's kind of silly. So it's like,
Yeah, so there are silly elements, there are serious elements, there honestly, I think, um, this episode is more indicative of the show. You get, like, a lot of insight, but they don't dress up as men again or try and infiltrate something, like that. They just, um and I'm not exactly sure what is the most true and what isn't. I know all of the poetry is focused on heavily on and things like that, but it just kind of really delves into the relationships between her and the other people in her life. We get a few outside perspectives, like Henry joining, the the Union Army and stuff like that. So we get a few outside people that we get to follow, but mostly we're following Emily and her family and stuff. And Emily's it's so hard to say Emily's struggles because watching her life, she didn't really want or struggle with anything.
yeah, I could
She
tell.
didn't
Yeah.
have any hardships, and it's so interesting that she wrote such deep poetry about all of these things when it barely glanced off her life. It's so strange to me, honestly, that she barely ever left that house and she wrote words that speak to people all over the world.
Mhm. And she did talk about at one point. I forget which episode you talk about never leaving the house. That she did want to go out and see things, if I
She
remember
did,
correctly.
but she never did.
Never did.
She talks about wanting to, but she never actually, like, goes anywhere. I don't know. She never really does get out or and go see things and do things. She just writes.
So, how do you feel? You might have said this already, but I'm going to ask it again anyway, just in case. Just in case. I just want to hear a response. How do you feel about the idea of them talking in modern, the dialogue being so modern versus?
Usually, I would hate it, and I thought when I first started this show that I would hate it, but then I didn't stop watching it, and I didn't stop watching it, and eventually, it just kind of became part of the whole story, and it would make me laugh, and I eventually was okay with it. Normally, when I'm watching a period piece, I even hate when people are like when people kiss in period pieces, it drives me insane because I like a lot of old movies. And old movies, basically, what a kiss is best two actors with their mouths closed as tight as possible, like smushing their faces together. To me, that is a romantic, old fashioned kiss. I don't care if, like, that's the only proper kiss somebody would have done in those times outside of a home, you know? So, like, anytime I'm watching anything and actors, like, do these crazy, like, make out kisses in front of people, and I'm like, "That no, stop doing that." Like, I don't know, anything that tries to represent, like, old Hollywood or any of that kind of stuff, that the romance is honestly what takes me out of it first, because I love old movies, and I love the way love is portrayed in old movies, and when it's not done the same, it drives me crazy. And when period pieces don't get right, and, like, it could have been so much more of a comedic effect, because I remember watching Xena when I was a little kid, like, Xena Warrior Princess. And like honestly, I say little kid, but I have no idea when that show was on. I know it was like the 90s or something. And then I tried to watch one recently and I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. It's supposed to be like, I don't know, Africa, but it looks like my backyard and they're all talking with 90s slang. And I
All
was
right,
like, oh my goodness, this is bad. So I was
that's
afraid it could have been played that badly and come off that badly, but it really it didn't, and it kind of works in this whole weird world that they've built around the personage of Emily Dickinson.
I want to say something about the kissing part. The obviously older movies were highly censored back in the day.
Oh yeah, for sure. I know that, and I know like it doesn't always reflect real life, but for me, when I'm watching a period piece and I see people making out, it immediately takes me out of it. Whether I know that's probably my own problem, but it just does.
Okay. The and I kind of equate the idea of people talking in a more modern way in this TV show to almost like you're translating the show to
Yeah, that's
yeah,
a
like
good like a
yeah,
live translation kind of a deal.
yeah. So like if you were to hear how they really speak, you might have a hard time understanding what they're saying.
Yeah.
And then but you put it in more modern because I always like to give the example of the book The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, which I had a hard time reading because it was
Uh-huh.
written in a different country. It was written back in the 1800s, and H.G. Wells was a great writer, but I was like I struggled trying to read through that thing because there was the English he used was just so hard to comprehend.
Right.
And if someone could put it in more modern English, I probably would have had an easier time reading the book. So,
Mhm.
and that's what
Mhm.
this movie kind of does, or TV show kind of does in a way. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's a good way to put that.
so alrighty. So overall, first two episodes, what would you give the ratings for these?
Um, I don't know, per episode, but I think I would give the whole show overall a 7 out of 10.
About 10. Okay. So, uh, now as far as you don't have to give away anything as far as spoilers or anything, but as far as these episodes in particular, do they represent a good way of the way do they represent the way the show um
Ye Mhm.
is it does it continue this kind of I don't know the way to put it. Does it flow the same way, I guess?
Yeah, yeah. So these episodes are a good representation of the show itself.
Okay.
You know, obviously these are more of an introduction. But you just slowly get more and more information on the characters and everything, and this is a good representation. Like she writes her poems, she is in her own little world a lot of the times, and like that's why she like yelled out at the lecture because she's not doesn't really pay attention to the world around her. She just pays attention to her own stuff. Oh, in the next episode, you meet the author of Little Women.
Okay. Okay.
Uh-huh. And there's a few other famous authors and stuff that pop in and out of her life. I don't know if she ever actually met them, but for creative license.
Gotcha. The and I over so and if I guess I don't need to ask, but you would highly recommend this, I assume. For
I mean, yeah, if you like the first few episodes, this is what it's gonna be, and it's fun. And give it a try if you want to, yeah. And if you like the poetry of Emily Dickinson.
okay. I will say that based on the two shows that you recommended, I think it's only two. This one and Ted Lasso, I would still like
Yeah.
Ted Lasso. I like
Oh,
that
yeah.
one better.
Oh, Ted Lasso's yeah, definitely definitely the better show for sure. This one is weirdly quirky and weird, and it's very different from Ted Lasso. I would highly recommend Ted Lasso to everybody. This show don't think is for everybody. And
Yeah.
what did you think of it? I
It
wasn't
was
sure if
good.
you would actually like it.
No, I kept my interest for sure. So
Oh,
that's
that's
always
good.
a positive thing. So if my interest starts to fade, I'm looking around at other things. That means it's not a good show. But no, I kept my interest.
Well, that's
Um,
good.
if it was another episode on, I'd probably watch it. I'm at this point, I'm not sure if I want to go out of my way to continue watching it.
Right.
But it was good. So I definitely I would
Cool.
recommend it as well. So if you're as long as as I said, you said it continues the same level of the way the show is produced. These represent
Yeah.
the subscriptions. They don't. It would.
Yeah.
I would say that's a good thing. I would
Yeah.
for me to watch, continue watching
Mhm.
it. And
Yeah.
before we go too far, doesn't Haas play 3.0 says hi. So
Hi.
hi. I think doesn't Haas. He had a. If he's still there, he can tell me. I think he had a Christmas tree on there. I think he took it down. So I think it's the same.
Okay.
So yeah. Alrighty. So yeah, that was good. Overall, yes, we both say that this would be a good show. Were there any besides Ted Lasso? Those are the only two TV shows we've actually talked
Yeah, I
about?
think those are the only TV shows. Yeah. The rest we've watched a few movies and stuff.
Okay. All righty. Well, let's take a look at our question from earlier. Looks like we got a really decent response for
Mhm.
a short period of time. We've had it up already.
Yeah.
107 votes. That's pretty good. Um,
Yeah.
do you like poetry? Tell us your favorite poets in the comments. 75% overwhelmingly yes. That's good.
Yeah.
10% with no, 9% with I don't care. Just falls in line there. And 6% with maybe leave a comment. So
Mhm. And we
uh,
have, what is it, 2 comments here?
let me hold on. This is a trick I learned. We always have to hit the newest first because sometimes there's hidden comments that don't pop up unless you do that. So it's really
Mm,
weird. I don't know why it does that. So, yeah.
okay.
So,
So we have Fat Laces Thetan says Christopher George Latour Wallace. I don't know if that's 2 people, 1 person, 3 people. Who knows? I'm not sure. It looks like one big full name. And then we have Renegade MS. I'm not interested in meta literature. I prefer straightforward assessments of what's effectuated.
Actuated.
Hmm.
All right.
Renegade likes to comment on lots of different things.
This regular commenter. Yes. Thank you very much.
Cool.
So, alrighty. Well, how do you feel so far about that? I didn't think 70. That's kind of high. I would thought maybe closer to 50-50. I didn't realize so many people like
Yeah.
poetry. That's actually
Uh,
pretty high so far. So
yeah. Yeah. It's cool. We'll see if we get more names.
yeah. So, alrighty. Anything else you'd like to add before we wrap everything up?
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay, well, everybody, thank you. And also, please remember if you'd like to help support the show, we have a link to NordVPN in the description there. If you click on it, I do know I've not clicked on it recently. I do believe that the special deal is the same as before, but it's definitely a better rate than if you were to actually go to the website and get it directly. So, and anything if you click on that and you purchase it, it helps support what we're doing here. We really appreciate it. So,
Yes. Thank you.
okay. Well, thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.
See you then.